Welcome to Faith-Filled Motherhood, where real talk meets real faith. I'm Carly.
And I'm her twin sister, Brooke. Each week, we dive into the heart of motherhood through the lens of grace, hope, and truth.
Whether you're in the carpool line, folding laundry, or maybe you're on your way to work, we're here to walk this journey with you.
We're so glad you're here with us today. You're listening to Faith-Filled Motherhood.
I'm from California.
And how long have you guys been married?
7 years.
Okay. We'll go to Becca.
I'm Becca. I'm from Virginia. I have been married 3 years. My husband's not here.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
He's with the baby.
I was that joke. I'm wheezing.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
Okay. All right, Austin.
Are we starting over?
Nope.
No.
We can cut it.
You don't say, or you just have fun editing this later.
Oh my God. We're giving Carly a lot of work. So yes. Gone. We lost it. Thank you all for coming.
It's just going to be 40 minutes of us laughing. Like Louise. It's his own fault.
Oh. All right. Okay.
Okay, let's try that again.
Austin and Jeff.
That's right.
I can't stop. I want to start. It's so hard.
Okay. Austin and Jess.
Yeah.
I'm Austin. This is my wife, Jessica, and we live in South Carolina.
And how long have you guys been married?
9 years.
10 years.
No,
10 years.
it's been 10 years. We had a baby the same time. It's been 10 years.
Awesome. Very good. And Austin, just everybody, Austin is our brother. So that's the relation there. Yeah.
I'm Ariana, and I'm in Tennessee. I'm married to Garrett. We've been married for 7 years.
Wonderful. Mine's Brooke, and I've been single for almost 6 years. Okay. I just had to add that in there in case there was any single young men watching. So this first question, how has your faith shaped your relationship and the way that you've approached marriage?
I would say that definitely both of us now having God in our marriage strengthened it more than I could have even imagined, or like fixed it or turned it for the better in ways that probably would not have gone as smoothly if we both did not have him in our lives individually and together.
Yeah.
You know, like our own relationships, but also one together where we do Jesus together, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
God.
That's good. I was hoping you would answer, Ariana, because I know that you guys didn't have a strong faith when you got married, and that's really changed over the last year. So,
Yep.
I think it does and should drastically affect your marriage as far as the difference between a Christian marriage and a not Christian marriage. A not Christian marriage, you enter into trying to figure out what you can get from it. And a Christian marriage is one where you enter in thinking about how you can sacrifice what you can offer to it. And so I think for us, in our different ways, and she's better at this than I am, but just sacrificing for each other, serving as Christ serves. And yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for us. Every marriage has its issues, but I think for us, in those seasons where we're really strong on service to one another, everything else just feels easier. So the more that we look like Christ to each other, the easier our marriage is. Imagine that. But yeah, and I think that is a drastic difference from a marriage that doesn't have, I should say, a marriage that's not centered on Jesus. Yeah. Because we know since moving to the South and living in the Bible Belt that there's a lot of Christian marriages. But there's not a lot of marriages that are centered on Christ.
Yeah.
And you can pretty obviously see the difference.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, the way our pastor talks about it a lot is it's a kind of the same thing you're saying, is that the difference between a contract and a covenant. And without God, a lot of times you go into it like a contract. It's just like, well, let's sign all the papers. Let's make sure I don't get screwed over and make sure I get the most out of it I can get out of it. Make sure you satisfy me the most that you can satisfy me. And we're trying to find the best spouse, the best looking, the best owner, the best whatever it is. But that's completely opposite and different from the way you approach finding a spouse and engaging in marriage as a believer. It has nothing to do with what you get out of it. It's what you can accomplish together and the way that your marriage can glorify God.
Yeah. I think, okay, I have so many ways I could go with this question, so I'm going to try and keep it short. But like one thing for us that we've talked about and we've talked with other couples about is like when you're not in a Christ-centered relationship, or if you're not equally yoked in that sense, you kind of live in like paranoia. I can't tell you how many times we see on like social media, like my husband's on his phone and I feel like he's hiding it from me. And is he texting someone else? Is he cheating on me? Is he doing this? Is he doing that? Well, for us, like, because we're in a Christ-centered marriage and because we bring God into all of our marriage, like, I know I have full faith, full trust. So like, I very frequently pray, like, God, because I trust you, I trust him. Does that make sense? Like, God, my trust is in you. So, you know, Dana used to say all the time when we were growing up, whatever you're hiding in darkness, the Holy Spirit is going to bring to light. So I don't have to walk in my marriage in paranoia or like this constant state of like, is he talking to someone else? Is this happening behind my back or whatever? Because it's like, I'm in a Christ-centered relationship. I'm in communion with the Holy Spirit. So for me, I know if there's something that's amiss, something that's not right, that discernment is going to come and it's going to be very clear and it's going to be brought to the light, and I'm going to know that. So I can walk every day in my marriage, trusting God, trusting my husband.
That's good. That's good. Austin and Jess, you guys can start this one. How do you navigate cultural norms or trends that seem to conflict with your Christian values? I feel like there's a lot of them these days.
Oh, no, we're Christian. Want to give some examples?
Well, just, I mean, even along the lines, kind of like what Kyle was just saying with marriage, it's so easy, you know, culturally to, or, you know, our world says that, you know, you can leave if you're not happy and do what's best for you and find the next thing that makes you happy.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer as a Christian. Like, there's so many things that are just so far out of the realm of what we would do in practice in our marriage. That's just, it all comes down to being a Christian. Like, this sounds vague because I feel like it's kind of a vague but very easy answer. Like, some examples are like, in the world you ever heard of like your work spouse? Like, you have your work wife or your work husband or whatever. That's insanity to somebody who's a Christian. That's absurd to have that dynamic. To even entertain that in a joking way is absolutely insane. Also, I think a marriage that does not have Christ in it would also be a little bit more selfish in what it protects individually. Whereas we understand that marriage is unity, which means that I don't have a computer and she has a computer. We have a computer, which means passwords are always shared. Like, I don't have a phone and she didn't have a phone. I mean, technically we do, but we have phones that we use. And it's just this nothing is shut.
Yeah.
Everything is open. Everything is accessible. I don't have anything in my life that she does not have full access to. You guys are probably surprised, but it's actually not uncommon in the world. Maybe you wouldn't be surprised. To the sharing of bank accounts when you get married is becoming less and less common. Insane.
Yeah.
We're one. We're doing everything together as one. For me and in doing that in unity, it's a very cheap statement, but it also goes to some of what Becca was speaking about with like we're working together for a problem. Cheesy statement is it's not me versus you, it's us versus the problem.
Yeah.
Well, when we have separate accounts, well, then we're opening anything separated really is a new avenue for argument and a new avenue for division. And my thought is anything that is natural divide needs to come down. And if it's finances, if that's down, well, we might still have some financial, debates, but it's never a matter of like you have more money than I do, or you get a bigger spending account than I. How fair would that be? She's a stay-at-home mom.
That's no money.
Yeah, so
I'm poor.
to me, it's just
Poor.
to me, it just doesn't make any sense. You see it in the world where they each have a job, but you also see it where the husband is just offering an allowance, which is fine if she has access and eyes to the finances if she chooses to. I also understand there is a dynamic where the wife is naturally just like, I don't care. I just trust you, you're going to take care of things. And that's fine too. It's a matter of visibility. Does she have visibility if she wants it?
Yeah.
And that's the case for passwords, for finances, for everything.
I think it's and I want you to touch on this more, but like another cultural norm when it comes let's just go there. Another cultural norm when it comes to marriages is something like pornography, right? Like
oh yeah,
there's a lot of couples that watch it together.
we've counseled them. Well, we've even counseled ones that the husbands had convinced their wives that they need it
necessary.
and they work out of town. So the wives were like, oh, I know he just needs it because he works out of town. And so I don't mind if he does it.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, that's good. I also, if anybody wants to touch on cultural norms with raising kids too. So not just marriage, but I know there's cultural norms that are pushed on our kids and what we should allow our kids to do or allow our kids to watch. And as Christians, how do we navigate that? Especially, I think all of our kids, well, Becca's aren't old enough yet, but the rest of us, all of our kids are in public schools and in different states. So how do you guys navigate? Your kids are in private school, but
you should hear the things that they say.
But a Christian school sometimes isn't better than a public school. So how do you guys navigate your children being exposed to the cultural norms and protecting them while also raising them in this modern world that we're in? Ariana?
So this is the first year that the boys went to public school, and like our first year dealing with any public anything, because even our homeschool groups, all the kids kind of just talked the same, really acted the same, played together, learned together, whatever. Just recently, the boys are coming home from school saying like random things that they've heard on the playground or in school. Or you can tell that they're bringing home from their friends who have older siblings, where they're saying things at home, those younger siblings are hearing it, and then they're bringing it to school for my boys to hear. So we told them, they said, that's what she said. But it made no sense because, that's what she says joke. They don't know it. So the only thing I could really do was be like, if you don't understand it, don't say it. Don't talk about it if you don't understand it. So understanding is something we're going to have to work on, where it's like, you're going to learn to either understand it and keep your mouth shut, and you're still going to understand and keep your mouth shut if it's inappropriate. And that's as far as we've gotten because we're 3 weeks in.
But that just stands to show how true it is. You're only 3 weeks in and already you're having to navigate like the world teaching your kids things that you wouldn't have.
Yep.
One thing that I recently run into is just like sometimes you just feel like the bad guy. Sometimes to stand up for what's right, you just have to. And I'm such a people pleaser. I'm like, I don't want to be the bad guy. I want to be your best friend. But there's times when I just have to be like, I'm sorry, you're not wearing that. And it's hard and then, and then there's conflict and all of that. But, so that's part of it. And then one part as a parent that I'm trying to grow in is this understanding, especially in co-parenting, that not everything is gonna go my way. I don't have full control over everything they do, and no one does, not even just in co-parenting, but especially as they get older, like I can set an expectation, but beating that expectation to death if they're not doing what I want is not fruitful and it's not productive. And that's so hard because I'm like a control freak type A, like do what I say to do.
Yeah. Well, I want to add to that. It's something that I've been trying to implement, having like basically a teenager and preteen. And I think this is something that parents have to learn like later on in life when you have kids that like grow up and they're like getting more independent with a car or they move out or whatever it is, that we've had to learn like way earlier because we don't have them all the time. And that is to just really do our best to like not just say we don't do that, but like why we don't do that, or we do this and why we do that. And so I've been trying to teach them like, yeah, I don't want you to wear that, but here's why, or I don't want you to say that or listen to that artist or that song or watch that show or watch that movie, but here's why I don't want you to. And then I will, even if it's like they were really into this one artist for a while, and I tried finding like a Christian artist to like get them excited about that seems similar, kind of like the counter option to like what they were really into that made more sense. And then the one thing I tell them all the time is just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that's a lot to expect from a 9-year-old who, when they're allowed to do different things at different places or even at school. And so like when you're sending your kids off to school, it's like just because you know you might get away with that, like pushing the fire alarm button in an elevator because you've done it before and didn't get in trouble. Like just because you can doesn't mean you should. And so just trying to get them to understand like it's worth walking in a God-honoring way even when no one's looking. And it's not always easy, and I guarantee it's not really happening to the extent that I want it to, but that's what I'm really trying to implement is like we're not always going to be with you, but the Holy Spirit is. So if you know that you shouldn't be doing something, or you feel wrong about something, or you feel like you have to hide it from us, but you're allowed to do it somewhere else, like check your motives and see if it's really worth it. Yeah.
And that's one thing I want to add to that and ask everybody, because I don't know exactly what I think about this thought, but it's like I've almost got to this point where I'm like, I'm less concerned with their behavior, like the actual actions, and I'm more concerned with just knowing that they know what's right and wrong. I'm like, it's almost to the point where I'm like, even if you're doing the wrong thing, but you know it's wrong, I would rather that than you are doing the wrong thing, but like you think it's right. Okay. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I think in theory, yeah, like as long as you know that it's wrong. I mean, I wouldn't say that to my kid. Like, well, as long as you know that it's wrong, like I wouldn't say that, right? But I understand what you're saying in the sense of like you want them to be able to discern like this is a bad choice or this is a good choice. And like something that I struggled with, but I look back on now is like you don't realize how making the right hard choice made making the small right choices so much easier. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know if I'm saying that the way that I mean it, but it's just like with clothes, right? It's like if the really hard thing is modesty, well, once you step into why do I want to go with modesty, it's like because you made that really big hard decision to say yes, like I'm choosing to conduct my dress in a modest way. It's like you don't even have to question some clothing because you don't even look at it on the rack because you've already made the hard choice. Does that make sense? I don't know if it's like, instead of taking these little steps, like, let me take the leap so that all these other little steps become easier. I don't know.
Setting boundaries in your own life.
Yeah, like, I mean, I had friends who in middle school, their parents wouldn't let them wear certain clothes, so they would go out really early in the morning while their parents were in the shower, hide clothes in the tree at the bus stop, come back, walk out the door, the clothes that their parents approved, change on the bus, and then, I mean, it was ridiculous, but they did it, And it's like, to me, that's so much more work than just being like, I'm going to be modest. Like, okay, like, you literally had to wake up early, run down to the bus stop while your mom was in the shower, in the fear of getting caught. Like, I don't know. It's just a lot. I think one thing that again, my daughter, my oldest is only 2 for those that don't know, but I'm already trying to teach her, like, it's just easier to do the right thing the first time. Because then you skip all the anxiety that you go through, all of the extra step, the extra works. Like, I mean, like, look at Adam and Eve in the garden. Like, they were anxiously hiding from God. He already knew where they were. And like, my daughter does things now where I'm like, I already know that you did it and I told you no. So like, let's talk about it, And something that the cultural norms thing, going back to that, I don't want to get super off topic, but for me in this stage, it's like gentle parenting is like this huge thing right now, right? And it's like, I'm not a gentle parent and I don't necessarily agree with most of it because I think it's just like
enabling children to do it.
Yes, and it's a whole thing, but it's literally like,
I am.
Yeah.
I just like, even at the park, like, I'm such a everyone's gonna think differently, but like yesterday I took Kylie to the park and there's like 4 or 5 kids that she's playing with and they're all trying to climb up the slides. None of the parents are saying anything. It's kind of chaotic. People like, I'm like, I don't want Kylie to get kicked in the face because all the kids are older than her. And so I'm like very vocal, like, Kylie, get down, go climb the stairs and go down the slide. You do not climb up the slide, especially when there's other people trying to use it, Like, I'm vocal and I'm making that correction. All the other parents are like free range kids, and I'm like, that bothers me. And maybe because I am more controlling, but it's like, I don't know. I just think it is, yes, it's enabling your kids. Like, I get you want them to have like the choice, but how are they going to learn to make the right choice if you're not guiding them?
Yeah.
I don't want to rabbit hole on modesty, but
Do it.
Here's what I very much admire of homeschooled kids, and even from growing up around some other homeschooled kids, but that's like what I observe is they do this naturally, which is they make small what the world makes big. Because they're homeschooled, they don't know that there's this standard of dressing like that's, and maybe social media makes it a little bit more difficult now, but I think that that's something I've never put language to until this exact moment, but that we've tried to do regarding the clothing stuff is just to make small what the world makes big. They make a huge deal out of what you're wearing. We want to make what you're wearing such a small part of what takes up your brain's capacity for the day. Like, we want, and that's for a lot of reasons. I mean, another thing that actually surprised us about moving to this area is just how like keeping up with the Joneses and how just bougie some people can be. And we're just not that way. And so we know that our children are going to school with kids who are that way. And we have some things where I am that way and I need to chill. But I also I just don't want them feeling that comparison. There's so many things they have to wrestle with. So back to Kyle's thing of, what do you guys think of, hey, are they getting the principle of the thing? Yeah, I want them to wrestle with God. I mean, that's what we have to do. So if it allows them to wrestle with it and they're feeling like, I know that was wrong, maybe even I knew it was wrong before I did it, and I did it anyways. And now I'm seeing the consequence of that action. That's how they learn. That's how I learned. I never learned from just saying, yes, sir, I'll do what you say. I always walked that path. That wasn't a fire alarm, but it was a fire extinguisher in an auto shop. And I mean, this is how we learn, though. And so, yeah, I think if we can just take, Becca said, like, hammer these big, go for the leap, do these big things, and it makes these smaller things. Make small what the world makes big for our kids and help them to prioritize what really is big and what really does matter. Which, if it's coming down to modesty and how we dress, that's simple identity. That's an identity thing. If their identity is in Christ, then a big issue in their day is not going to be how little amount of clothes can I put on my body and still walk the door without my dad lassoing me back into the house. It's just going to be, I'm just going to get dressed and I'm going to go because I don't really, and you don't care, you want to present yourself, but as far as trying to keep up with the world's pace, we want them on a completely different race.
Yeah. I will say I admire that in my 10-year-old. All she does is pull out the top shorts and the top shirt and throw them on. Doesn't matter.
That's one of our daughters.
I have one of those.
Yeah. One of our daughters, twin, for anyone who doesn't know this. Yeah, one of them is just comfortable shorts and a t-shirt to the point where we're like, can you get a little more feminine? Like, while also not like trying to
not make a big thing of it.
Yeah, not to make a big thing of it. But yeah, then the other one's like, she's the one, we already know which one we're gonna deal with this topic on.
I think it's kind of going back to even like what Kyle was asking. For us, we tend to get really caught up. Both of us get really caught up on principle. Like, and I find myself sometimes like, is that a battle that I really need to fight? Like, does it really matter? And
she doesn't struggle with this. She's talking about me, but being
no, I do. No, I do struggle.
I'm horrible at this.
You're worse, but I do struggle. Also. And you'll ask our kids, they have heard the word principle in their life, like their entire life, over and over. But like, I think both of us kind of have this, and maybe this is a negative thing, but we both have this like need to, in an attempt to protect, we have this like overbearing correction that happens a lot. And I think for me, like I'm trying to find something that my mom always says is like, pick your battles, right? I mean, we've heard that a lot, but in reference to my kids, even it's like, pick which battles you really want. And for me, I pick every single one. So that's the problem.
All of the battles. Plenty of ammo.
Yeah, we're picking every battle, both of us. And so, but it's not, I think it's challenging because like we have one child in particular that will say, I'm always the one that's in trouble. I'm always the one that you're harping on. I'm always the one. But I think it's my heart is not that, like, and I've explained it, but it's so hard to get them to understand that, like, our heart is protection. Like you don't understand what we're protecting you from, right? And we know what we're protecting you from, and they don't understand. And so that's my biggest challenge, I think, is like I get so caught up in like I have to protect you from what I went through. I have to protect you from what I experienced, from the insecurities I felt, like, and so it causes this almost like I keep doing this with my hand. I'm gonna put my hands down. It causes this almost like overbearing. I don't know how to explain it, but that is my biggest challenge.
It's interesting about you talking about your motive. We've never talked about our motive behind this. We both do this, but I don't do it for why she just said she does it. You do it to protect them from experiencing what you've experienced.
Yeah.
I actually admittedly do it out of fear of the world. So a lot of why I do it or want to hammer these things and make them all, I just want to like, not physically, but like mentally, spiritually, just chisel this young being into this like impenetrable person. And mine is out of fear of the world. And that's not a good thing. It's not a good way to operate out of, but like the fear of what what is the world going to try to put in their head on this topic?
Yeah.
Our tomboy daughter, like, so navigating that. I mean, maybe there's somebody who watches this and say, I have a tomboy daughter that I'm concerned about because of the world we live in. And yeah, Carly, she does too. And I think about that and I'm like, this is fine. Like, this just used to be a thing. Like, you just used to
had
be
tomboys.
a tomboy. And then, whatever. That's just what it was. And now I think
This goes back to cultural norms.
I made the joke of like, can you just be a little bit more feminine? Well, I truly, in my heart, I don't care if you want to wear basketball shorts and a t-shirt, because I know that we read and we pray every single day together, and I trust that I'm raising my child up in the way that they should go, and that their identity will be found in Christ, which is what I pray over them every single night. I do trust that. But on the other side, they do go to public school, and I for her own sake, I guess I do have a bit of protection over her, but I more so am concerned about what is the world going to say.
What are they going to tell
to
her? Yeah.
So if I can get these things dialed in at home before they go out to face the world, and our oldest twins, they're 9, so they're not facing middle school and all that comes with that in high school, but they will. And I just am concerned about what the world is going to say to them in that season. So I find myself making everything a big deal out of fear of what the world's going to present to them as they navigate.
Yeah.
I think with twins too, though I actually don't like this because like as twins, she was always way more like girly and she wasn't that girly even, but I was like more the tomboy. And I think the hard thing to combat with twins or just with all of our kids really is like comparison. Like we see it with our girls all the time. It's like boys will tell our oldest twin like, oh, this one boy like mocks her beautiful big luscious lips and says like they're terrible and like mocks her for it.
So mean.
Huh?
Kids are just mean.
Yeah, and so just like really trying to teach them like, and that's at a Christian school, like where like comparison and everything, and so it's just going back to like what you were just saying, identity and trying our best. And something I've also learned through like co-parenting is just like there's also only so much we can do, and it's like we do our best, and then we just have to trust that like the Holy Spirit will do the rest. And with picking and choosing your battles, I think what we've been talking a lot about that is he'll fight every battle. And I used to, and now like I realize I just kind of think like, is this worth it? Because I still want her to come to me with the uncomfortable things and the hard things and not feel like every little thing is just going to be this big, huge blow up a lecture or, you know what I mean? Because it's like one little thing I blow up, well then like the big thing she's not going to come and tell me.
Yeah, that's big. I feel like you talked about that. She's so much better than me at this. She's mentioned things like that before. They're like, we want them to feel safe coming to us in the future.
Yeah. That leads me to my next question. The last one on like raising kids is how do you balance grace and truth when teaching your children right and wrong? So Carly and I have talked about this. We feel like we were raised and generations before us were raised, like you just listen because you're told to listen. And so it's like, that's just what you do. Don't question me. Yeah. And I definitely don't gentle parent, but I don't want people to think that we were all abusing our children.
No, I don't hit them.
I don't mean none of what I meant was physical.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll say that.
What I do is I do want respect, but I also want my kids to want to respect me.
Demand it.
And I don't want them to just do what I'm saying because they're like doing it out of fear of doing something wrong or punishment, but because it's the right thing to do. So how do you all, and Ariana and Garrett, you guys can start this one. How do you guys balance grace and truth while also teaching your boys right from wrong?
I don't know. I have a really hard time because I get really angry.
I love it.
I don't have patience. I really do not have patience. And it takes me to, I blow up before I calm down. I have to goose fraba.
What about
and
you?
we're still working on that. So I do not have any.
I love the honesty.
I'm a mess over here. Go ahead, babe.
Okay. Well, yeah, she's not really the one who usually does
I don't
that.
correct him.
She's more of the just get mad. I mean, I can get mad, but I look at it for them as obviously I'm trying to teach them everything. So anything that they want to do or learn, if you're teaching them at the same time, it's one of those, you know that they're going to mess up and make mistakes nonstop. So I look at it as if I teach them by example of what I want from them. And if they mess up once, twice, right, you can correct them and be like, no, this is how it needs to be done. And here's why. And, back to the why point, I think it's really poorly. A lot of people like to just say, well, because I said so. When in reality, if you actually give a reasoning behind the why, so if it's, hey, you need to speak this way, the family speaks this way. It's not a because I say we speak this way. It's we speak this way because it, brings respect to us. It shows that we have dignity. It shows that we care. It shows who we are as people, right? Behind closed doors. And so it's one of those, now if I tell them all that, and then they go out and go against what we just all talked about, or that I taught them for the last 6 months, and now they do the exact opposite, that's where, obviously the grace was leading up to that point.
Mhm.
And then that's where the correction has to be made, which usually technically correction is grace, because if you're still correcting, you're still providing them with a chance.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd say, so I would argue that's, really the grace almost never, it really never stops, which I think it falls right in line with the whole purpose of what we're all doing as parents anyway, right? And that's why we're all leading our kids through Christ, right? The whole purpose is we get grace indefinitely. So how can I say, hey, look at all this grace I get, but I'm not going to give you any? Because that's an easy way for them now to say, well, why would I want to do anything that you say anyway? Because you don't even believe what you're telling me you believe. Mm-hmm. So I think it's all by example. So if you can basically, it's tough to constantly just want them to do better. You want them to do better. You want to keep teaching them. You want to make sure that they're always doing it the right way. But at the same time, you almost need them to fail more times than not, or else they can't even do it the right way anyway. We're dealing with that with school right now, right? They come home and we know they know how to spell, or we know they know how to write. But at school, they may not do it just because they don't want to. Mm-hmm. So then you can't just have them come home and say, oh, you're going to be dumb. You're never going to make it. Because now they're just going to say, well, I guess that's what it is. But instead, you have to sit them down, teach them something that they already know. They're going to prove to you that they already know it. But through you, it's really, through you showing them that, hey, it's okay that you messed up that one time, but here, do it again.
Yeah.
We saw it in real time. 2 days ago, Brinson, we were basically told, hey, he doesn't know his alphabet. And then today he comes home with a certificate that says he's like one of the best kids in school. So it's well, that's good.
Manners for the month. So he's acting properly and doing everything. But his teacher said he only knew 4 words out of a whole story. So I sat him down and I said, read this whole story. And he literally read the entire story. But she only circled the 4 top words, which means he's not doing it for her, which is wrong, because now you're making me look bad because I did a whole year. But I'm like, then I have this other kid over here that the same school year, the same work, learned at the same time, and he's knowing everything.
Yeah.
So
Garrett, I like what you said, that this is what our family, this is how our family speaks. And I think that speaks to, as Christians, especially, it's our job to teach and lead by example and not expect something from our kids that we're not willing to do ourselves.
Yeah. We had so much fun having this conversation with our best friends and our family, but it was full of so many good things that we've decided to split it into 2 episodes so you don't miss out on any part of it. So we're going to pause here and come back next week for part 2. Thanks for joining us on Faith-Filled Motherhood.
Be sure to follow, share, and check out our website for more opportunities to connect.
We'll see you in the next episode.